Rain, nor sleet, nor snow can stop Dylan and I from doing Friday's Tech Show on this technology edition of Industry Focus. Greetings, fools. Sean O'Reilly here at Fool Headquarters in Alexandria, Virginia. It is Friday, January 22nd, 2016, and possibly getting trapped at HQ in a blizzard with me is Dylan Lewis. Dylan, do you think we have enough supplies to last through the weekend should the worst happen?
I think given the stocks market and what's available there, that's our subsidized pantry at HQ. I think we'll be okay.
We're going to have to live off of cashews if we get snowed in here.
Yeah, it'll be like trail mix and dried cranberries.
Although I do think they stocked it up with bananas, so we will not suffer from a potassium deficiency.
I saw some fools kind of scooping up some of the perishable items from the stock market because they really, it's like it's going to go bad. Like there's a chance people won't be.
That's actually a good point. Yeah, all the pears and stuff. Yeah. So. Anyway, so that's right, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you've heard, but I don't know, 30 inches on their way to D.C. as we speak.
Yeah, I think realistically, I'm hoping it's somewhere between like 8 and 12 because that's fun but manageable.
Because 3 feet is bad.
Yeah.
Like that's...
Especially in D.C. where the infrastructure just isn't here to...
Did you hear what happened 2 nights ago when we just had that inch that was for the heck of it or whatever? There was like 100 car accidents.
Yeah.
Just with an inch. What do you think's about to happen?
I saw it walking back to my apartment from the metro. It was like people were driving like normally. I mean, like they were like still putting their gas on.
Maybe you lower it 10 to 20 miles per hour. Yeah. Anyway, cool. All right, so Blizzard is not going to stop us. And today we're talking about internet growth and usage in emerging markets, specifically India.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about them, Dylan?
I just thought it was kind of an interesting topic. Typically we're very stock focused, and I thought it might be kind of interesting to look at, one of the markets that I think a lot of major tech companies, particularly the FANG stocks, but most tech companies are looking to as a huge driver of growth over the next.
FANG?
Facebook, FANG? Amazon, Netflix, Google. That is the new colloquialism.
If you're listening to the show and you're not watching the video, I'm rolling my eyes.
Yes,
face palming, and anyway,
it's becoming a thing.
I actually knew what it was, but I was helping
for the sake of our listeners.
Yeah.
But so it's a market that I think a lot of these businesses are going to rely on for growth in the next decade, 2 decades, and further out, and it poses a lot of really unique. Unique hurdles for companies to get over. And so I thought one of the things would be kind of interesting would be to roll through some of those challenges and then some of the unique ways that businesses are currently adapting to them or trying to port over their current business so that it is successful.
So India specifically, one of the world's fastest growing economies, pushing 7% GDP growth, obviously second only to, and actually probably slightly beating a little bit right now, China, in terms of GDP growth and population size. What else can you tell us?
Yeah, so I think one of the first major things that a lot of companies are going to struggle with this market is, particularly for the online companies, is paying for goods. So here in the U.S., we're used to using credit cards as part
Machines
of
are everywhere, yeah.
Or our smartphones even. If we go to Starbucks or something
We've been using
like that,
PayPal for 20 years, everything.
Yeah. And so you have a lot of bankable people, people that have bank accounts and credit cards.
Americans are bankable, yo.
put that on a bumper sticker. And I thought one of the great stats to kind of look at just to start off this conversation is some research from the World Bank. They put out this report, the Global Findex database 2014, measuring financial inclusion around the world. And one of the quotes I just want to pull from that was, in high-income OECD economies, 53% of adults reported owning a credit card in 2014.
That seems low, but okay.
Yeah, it's lower than I expect. But in developing economies, despite recent growth in credit card ownership, only 10% on average reported owning one.
Wow.
Yeah. And India is among the leaders in unbanked adults, and so people that do not have checking accounts and thus credit card accounts or anything like that.
Everything, yeah.
So
we're just talking. I'm sorry to interrupt. We were just talking about this the other day at the office because I don't know how we got on the subject of 7-Eleven, but in Southeast Asia and stuff, you use like 7-Elevens and convenience stores for literally everything. You just go there, pay your bills, everything with cash, and you just give it to them, and you pay all your utilities, everything.
Yeah, and it's totally different than what we're
foreign
used to seeing.
Concept entirely. Yeah.
And so that's obviously a major hurdle when you look at some of the companies like Netflix and Amazon that
Right.
rely on credit card processing or some sort of plastic to facilitate transactions.
Amazon has like a list of 10 credit cards I've used in the last 12 years.
Yeah, it's basically like a credit history. looking
Yeah,
at
I'm
your
like,
Amazon
oh my gosh,
account.
I forgot I had that one. Yeah, that's gone. That one, yeah, that expired. Like, yeah. Anyway,
So one of the questions from Netflix's most recent quarterly call, someone was asking about some of their plans for India and some of these developing markets and how they were going to handle some of the payment processing issues that are just going to happen, right? I mean, like you need a credit card to have a Netflix account. And so this is Netflix's CFO, David Wells, saying, so we've invested internally in building that out, getting smart in terms of the payment systems across the world. We're pressing on gift cards and prepaid cards that might open up the market to those people that don't have access to credit and debit cards.
did they mention just getting people to pay annually, even though that'd be $100, and that'd be a significant outlay.
You still run into the processing issue, though, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of these people are relying almost exclusively
Right.
on cash.
Well, and the reason I brought it up was I pictured somebody using a gift card once a month for $8. I was like,
Yeah, the more elegant solution there might
Right.
be doing something where you can buy whatever it is, like a $96
Yeah.
or $120 or something
Yeah.
like that gift card, and just covering a whole year subscription at once. I think that is probably the best way to craft something
Yeah.
like that for the time being. But
So-
the idea is here that they're giving people that are relying on cash an option to
Right.
participate in the digital economy.
right. So what's Amazon doing? I
Amazon-
can't wait to see what Jeff Bezos is doing. Like,
There was, first off, if this is something you're interested in, there was a fantastic article put together by Fortune. It's called Amazon Invades India. And it talks, that is like an ominous headline.
yeah.
But it talks all about the various initiatives that they're putting in place and how much they've had to adapt their business to handle what's going on there. And so, and this is a quote from here, from that piece, about half the customers pay cash only
What?
when their purchases are delivered.
What?
Amazon has partnered with thousands of small shop owners across the country to act as pickup points in exchange for receiving a small commission per package.
Oh my gosh,
Right.
Dylan.
It's hard to believe, right?
Oh man.
But this is the way that they're adapting to this marketplace that is drastically different.
Because they
than ours.
do a little bit of that here because, you might not want a package sitting on your front doorstep if your door is just on the street or whatever. And so they have those lockers. Like they actually have Amazon lockers at the 7-Eleven up the road here. I keep talking about 7-Eleven on this episode for some reason. But this is like that to an extreme.
Yeah,
That's like...
And I don't know that is like the sustainable solution for them. I think that
Yeah.
it's something that they do now to gain a foothold, get people familiar with the idea of going onto this online platform and ordering. But down the road, like they need to be doing something kind
Wow.
of different, right? But I think one of the other really interesting things that article highlights is how different Amazon's relationship is with the kind of native infrastructure of India and the mom and pop shops there. Because you think about how Amazon handles its relationships with like mom and pop retailers here, it's kind of an adversarial relationship.
It's not
right?
a good relationship.
Yeah, and the dynamic is like, hey man, like what the heck? Like you just took all my sales, like you're undercutting me. Like I don't want to help you out. Because
Join us or die.
yeah, but because so few people in India, or not the majority at least, are banked, and have credit card accounts or debit card accounts, they need to have these kind of go-betweens as options. Another big thing that this Fortune article talked about was the delivery infrastructure in Amazon in India and how different it is. And so they rely heavily on people basically like out on motorbikes.
I was about to say couriers.
Yeah. Delivering packages. And part of that is because you need people that have a really solid knowledge of the area, because it is not the same kind of well built out and charted address infrastructure that we have here in the US. It's much more arcane in a lot of ways. And so you're seeing Amazon kind of lean heavily on the local businesses and local knowledge here, whereas for the US they were able to just kind of throw down their grid
Right.
and have their way, with the U.S. marketplace.
Yeah.
So I thought that was just fascinating.
Wow. Okay. All right. So we've talked about the payments. Talk to me about the internet connectivity, because we actually have a contractor I work with on a regular basis, and she's in Calcutta, and I think it's actually spelled Kolkata anyway. And she's had connectivity problems from time to time. I mean, it's awesome, and she can work with the Fool and all this stuff or whatever, but I mean, it's not been flawless.
Yeah, as you might imagine, like it's somewhere that internet access broadband is still developing in a lot of ways, and I know that this is something like you might be a little bit more familiar with. I don't know. Can you speak to it?
Yeah. So, fortunately, the UN Broadband Commission, part of the United Nations, I did not know until today that such a thing existed. But anyway, last year released a State of Broadband report, and basically just ranked the world in terms of connectivity for broadband connections. It's something we enjoy here at HQ. I can be editing and listening to music. I mean, it's all awesome. Basically, the bottom line of the report said that 57% of the world's people remain offline. That's disappointing. And unable to take advantage of the enormous economic and social benefits the internet can offer. And that's somewhat sobering because, was it last week we talked about Netflix, or was it 2 weeks ago? 190 countries? Oh, no.
That was 2 weeks ago.
Sorry.
No, it was 2 weeks ago. That was our
yeah.
CES coverage, yeah.
They're in 190 countries, but 57% of the world's people in these countries can't, use Netflix. So That's a problem. Anyway. India, unfortunately, ranked 131st out of 189 countries on the fixed broadband subscriptions in 2014, and that's actually down from being ranked 125th in 2013. That's kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to lay cable. I mean, India's a big country, obviously. So, so I don't. This lends itself to the idea that, I'm sure you've heard Mark Zuckerberg's plans to get everybody in India internet through cell phone service, and that actually seems to be a little bit more viable at this point.
Yeah, the Internet.org initiative for all of its net neutrality opposition
Issues.
and some of the regulatory issues that they're running into with that seems to be a relatively well-intentioned idea. And you can see that there's such a huge addressable group of people that would be aimed at and that would hopefully benefit. But it's obvious that there are major broadband infrastructure upgrades that need to happen for India to enjoy the same type of connectivity that we do here.
And I don't know what it costs to get everybody in the United States broadband, but everybody here doesn't have broadband. I mean, we're in the nation's capital, so of course it's easier for us, but it's mostly cable connections. But I mean, I don't know, hundreds of billions of dollars, $1 trillion, something to get us to where we are here. Yeah. So anyway.
So in the U.S., most people are probably on 3G or 4G, right?
Yes, and this, of course, led me to wonder what was the deal was over in India, because obviously Zuckerberg thinks that cell phones are the best option, all that. Most of the country is on 2G and 3G, and I looked at the map. I actually went over to opensignal.com, and they have a convenient India cell coverage map. Oh. Anybody can go check this out.
It's nice.
And, you have, any of the providers here, they actually have coverage maps, and you go into the Verizon store and they have their little dotted map and everything red. It has signal and everything. It looked pretty similar to a map here over in India for 2G and 3G. Pretty much anywhere that it isn't ridiculously rural, like anything close to a city or a decent population center, you would have 2G or 3G. It would be fine. The major cities, about 20-25 of them, were the only places that had 4G coverage, and that was a little bit disappointing. That includes cities like New Delhi, Calcutta, Hyderabad, Mumbai, and there's no 4G coverage outside of these major cities. There's about 20-25 of them by my count. I just ballparked it, but they need a few more towers, I think.
And so the big issues with these types of connectivity problems is A, there are people that aren't connected at all, and B, there are people that are connected but aren't on networks that would support streaming, or it would make streaming prohibitively expensive, right, if they were on like a per megabyte type plan.
And that's a problem for Netflix in particular, because they obviously do the streaming. Not as much a problem for Facebook, because I mean we're used to video ads and everything, but really Facebook is just reading and looking at people's photos and stuff. So not as bad as Netflix.
Yeah, and I think that there are two different ways to kind of attack this issue, and two tech companies have kind of done it differently, and I've kind of like both of them here. So it's kind of similar to what you were saying with Facebook. One of the things that they did was roll out what they call Facebook Lite. And
is it what I had in college? Is that what it is?
Probably. It's probably similar to that. But it is for mobile users, and basically it is a stripped-down version of the app that requires far less.
And it's lower calories.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And it tastes great. And basically it's for low bandwidth connections. I think as of their most recent conference call, they have like 50 million people on that.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it's definitely gaining traction. And it's a nice way to get your platform out there without being so expensive and having it be so onerous for people to try to access it.
Right.
The other way that you can kind of get around some of the connectivity issues is let people get content when they have strong connections. And this is something that YouTube has done very well. YouTube is extremely popular in India since I think maybe 2007 or so. It's been there.
Is it the same business model there? Like it's just ad based and then cool. Okay.
Yeah, and so Google introduced offline video playback in India, and among several other markets. I think the Philippines, maybe Indonesia too. But the idea being you can access content that you want to watch when you have it, and download it so it's offline.
Does this require a big hard drive or anything like that?
It depends on the file size, but for the most part, this is all mobile oriented.
Okay, so it is doable on phones.
Yes.
And
so you then have it for 48 hours to access. And so say you are in a city center where you have fantastic coverage, you can, whether it's music videos or TV shows or something like that, that's available there. You can have it so it's offline, just click the button that you need to, and then watch it when you're back home. So that's one way that they've been able to.
That would totally work because I've got, I don't know, 20 or 30 1-minute videos of, my kid running around and doing crazy things. And theoretically, I could have 10 YouTube videos that I downloaded today and keep them and everything. So, yeah, that's not too crazy at all. Cool. Okay. Well, before we move on, I wanted to point our listeners to the newly redesigned Focus.Fool.com. There you'll discover a special offer to join the Motley Fool Stock Advisor newsletter. Start your year off foolishly. All loyal IF listeners have access to a special discount on Stock Advisor that works out to $129 for a full 2-year subscription. Just go to Focus.Fool.com to take advantage of this offer. Once again, that's Focus.Fool.com. So, Dylan, what are some of the other issues they're going to be a little bit harder to address? Because obviously YouTube's having some success with their offline downloading. Facebook's just having Facebook Lite. That's not the whole problem, though.
No. There are some other issues. Like we've said, tech companies have been very good about finding creative solutions to cater to Indian consumers right now. I do think that there are some things that are going to be a little bit tougher to get around. One of them being there's this very pervasive culture of ad-supported models in India. And, not a problem for your Facebooks and Googles. A little bit more of a problem for Amazon, depending on, how much appeal you think that their Prime streaming option really has. But obviously this is tough for Netflix. And so there's another fantastic article I'd just like to point some of our readers to. India offers atypical video challenges. This is something from the Times. I think it came out in late December of last year. And one of the companies that they profiled was Eros International. This is actually a publicly traded company on the U.S. exchanges. And they're a studio that is, in a lot of ways, kind of the Indian Netflix. And rather than just have the premium model of $8 or so a month, they have a free kind of limited catalog option for people, and it's ad-supported. And I think that the fact that the native competitor from Netflix that is it's like a Bollywood studio putting out the type of content that Netflix would be in a lot of ways. Doing that just kind of signals that it's something that you need to change the appetite of the consumer a little bit and get them used to paying for content a little bit more. I think one of the reasons that YouTube has been so successful in India is because they were able to get some major studios on board with putting out their content for free and have it be ad supported and do an ad rev split. There wasn't really a rerun culture in India for a while, and YouTube and Google did a lot of convincing to get those studios to say, "Hey, why don't you put this online? People will still want to watch it."
Right.
And they've enjoyed some nice ad rev splits because of that. So I do think that that's one thing that is a little difficult to overcome. Kind of on the same note, torrenting in parts of Asia and India in particular is just everywhere. It's very pervasive. And so that's another thing. And I think torrenting also plays into the idea of only having limited connectivity.
Yeah.
Right. And so, if you know that you're going to have really great connection for 3 hours while you're hanging out with your friends or something like that at the library, then you're going to take advantage of that, download something that you can watch offline, if it's a full-length movie or something like that. and then watch it when you're back home because you have it in
Right.
an offline file. So that's just kind of another issue. I think that'll be particularly difficult for, like you said, like Amazon's streaming option and Netflix's streaming option as well.
Yeah, and I'd have to think that this problem will eventually get solved because, as I understand it, India's film industry with studios like Eros, I mean, it's fairly sizable, and I have to imagine a world where Jeff Bezos would want to get in on that and distribute it through Prime or something.
Yeah, and in the Fortune profile on Amazon and their efforts in India, they said like this is $1 trillion opportunity. Like we are looking to explode in India.
Yeah.
And so they are throwing a ton of money at it, and I'm sure they will crack the code. Like we said, that it took some creative solutions to really cater well to the market with some of the other issues. I'm sure that these companies will do the same here with torrenting and kind of the reliance on the ad-supported model and that familiarity, but it might take some time.
Cool. Okay.
Yep.
Well, thanks for your thoughts, Dylan.
Always a pleasure. Sean, before we go,
Yes.
we over at Fool.com have put together a list of the best articles from 2015. Do you know that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I've actually read them all.
So the editors went through the 20,000 plus articles published in 2015.
We did not do that many.
I think we did, yeah, because
Wow.
we're over 2,000 a month.
Wow.
So,
All right. Yeah.
So the editors at Fool.com have gone through the over 20,000 articles published in 2015 and handpicked, I don't know, maybe the 5 or 6 best from each month.
Yeah.
And have put it all together in a nice, nifty little report called Fool.com's Recommended Reading 2015. And so if you are interested in getting it, would you email industryfocus@fool.com?
Yep, we are more than happy to send it to you. And again, that's just industryfocus@fool.com. And of course, if you have any questions about the show or suggestions, feel free to email us there as well. And
I think that does it for me. I think I can sign off now.
Awesome, cool. And you need some water, it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
And as always, people on this program may have interests in the stocks they talk about, and the Motley Fool may have formal recommendations for or against those stocks. So don't buy or sell anything based solely on what you hear on this program. For Dylan Lewis, I'm Sean O'Reilly. We're going to go build a snowman. Thanks for listening, and Fool on.